Okay, is it clear? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode. I purchased new headphones, so the microphone's now closer. I am currently, on my porch at night. And today something very profound happened to me, that I felt a part, a dimension of my experience entered cosmic silence. The mind is a fascinating instrument. It can sometimes make the moment dance to the future, and it can sometimes make the moment dance to the past. The mind is a movement. It is an activity. It is an action. So when the mind stops seeking or stops chasing the endless cycle of action, the witness within remembers itself. Suddenly there is no longer a story necessary, and if you do have stories, you are playful. You wear masks that you are no longer believing the mask is your face. Today I had a very intense moment. I was, nothing necessarily physically turbulent was happening. I just had this emotional sadness. You see, my relationship with emotions is that I don't own an emotion, and I don't, I observe emotions. They visit me. You can say that. Just like how a memory suddenly comes to the person before they do an important task, it's as if the memory visits the person. You see, there's this idea that some people in this world, they want to be misunderstood, because it is so meaningless that it gives a sort of purpose to exist. By the way, sorry for the extra noises, guys. If you're hearing headphones, be wary. I don't. Hopefully, one day I'll be speaking in a studio. What I'm trying to say is that I found a moment where there was this kind of sadness, and I saw any moment the past cannot continue to the future in your mind. There's a sort of death of a personality. You see, it's as if I sat down And something very unique happened. You see, how would I say? The logos spoke to me, the logos of the day. There was this inner calling towards a silence where within it where it was an unknown contentment, a contentment that was content not conditionally but unconditionally. It was the unconditional, a sort of unconditional fearlessness that I felt in that silence. And I was sitting in a park on a hill, like in this kind of meditative position, and I don't know what to say. To be honest, your intuition animates, moves at most into your abstraction. All those people who feel they're seeing something supernatural or extrasensory, let me tell you what's going on. Your mind is creating other dimensions, and it's natural. It's very natural. I mean, you can be playful as much as you want. For me, truth is beyond thought. That is the what needs to be roared in the streets of mankind. A majority of what happens in life, it's as if the more human beings, the more there's like more human beings on the planet, there is there's going to be more collisions of inner realities, therefore more randomity, therefore regardless of how much meaning we build, the future generations will come and walk differently. That is the point of life, that we all have different eyes, yet we see the same one. That is the peak of the evolution of our species, a sort of collective efficiency where any being that's born in our universal sector, right now we gotta first clean up the planet, then clean up, the galactic sector. What I mean by that is human beings are walking, thinking of themselves as meaningless atoms drifting in space. How dare you? How dare you, after billions and billions of years of evolution and all the ways that your ancestors walked and hoped? In that entrance into cosmic silence of mine, I noticed that all the things I've wanted have been in various moments of my life, all the things I've wanted in various moments. Each moment of want has had a different past and intention to it. It is very chaotically hollow. That is the secret of order. You realize each of them, they're like portals. You act like an animal, you welcome chaos into your life. You act as if you are beyond the animal. When you wonder about the value of intelligence in civilization, For now, intelligence in civilization is Hunger Games. We have not evolved beyond Hunger Games because we are not just object worshippers, we are idea worshippers. And of course, any hungry man, you can say if he's hungry too long, he will be an object worshipper. The thing about life is that you are oscillating. You are navigating into various ways that you exist to yourself. Now, after a point of studying whatever is going on in your life, you will suddenly see beyond the story of your life. And then you become your own teacher. Then your moment speaks to you, not just, that's when divinity occurs. Your whole moment of being speaks to you. You hear a voice that is not in words. You hear a heartbeat that belongs to the body of the cosmos. This question, who wants, was what, how can I say it, what I found through the entrance into cosmic silence. I dismantled my desire. I reverse engineered my greed. I looked at hell and I looked at heaven and I realized the wings of the bird are not the bird. The bird is where it's flying to, where the cosmos is going. We are journeyers in a manifest world. How cool is that? You know, when the mother of, like you see a lot of families, the mother or the father was like, you know, kid, go play outside, right? And the kid, the kid did not understand. The kid is like, okay, I'll go play outside, you know. But the kid did not understand. The father and the mother are saying to the kid, 4 billion years of evolution have occurred. A great advancement and opportunity is given in this lifetime. Go, son, play, you know, go play with what the world will become and smile as the world changes. That's the beautiful thing. You can never do anything without experiencing change. And you know what fear is? Fear is when you don't want to change. Violence, you know why it's occurring? It's occurring because in childhood, the child is denied decency. It is denied its own decency. What does that mean? That means the child is decent, and then the child behaves decently, but then the environment behaves indecently to it. And the moment there's the exposure of chaotic behavior, the child's mind is at war with its nature and what the world is. You see, it's so easy to accept this world is cruel. It is so easy to accept it is not the best, you know. It is easy to see that good people trying to be good in a world of chaos, you know, is always like you're witnessing crucifixions. You see, it's not just, how can I tell you, it's the lack of care for your species that brings negative karma. And what Mr. Within is asking is, we can't all start changing like how we're living. So what we can at least do, at least in the back of your mind, envision the greatness of your species. Envision the effort it would put before, you know, it closes its eyes. Because there's a way that a person closes their eyes because, like, you know, they're sleeping, and there's a way where it's like extinction. There will be no more eyes to even open after. And so we must care. We must not get too distracted by the stories of idol worship, the stories of worshipping people. It's enough. Your attention is like a sword and shield, and you must know when to use which. When you understand the world, your intelligence becomes like a sword. When you do not understand the world, your intelligence becomes like a shield. You use the past as a bunker of an explanation of your life to yourself. But the intense thing, the chaotic thing, the something that the great yogis, the Vedic rishis kind of confronted, is that there are greater dimensions. Horizontally, life is hopeless. Vertically, it's like hope is the only thing that's there. What I'm trying to say is, if we mess up the surface of our planet and suddenly the surface of Earth becomes uninhabitable, as I've suggested in one of my science fiction novels, in a scenario like that, you free the world by freeing first the idea of yourself from your idea of the world. So you free the thought projection of yourself from the whole thought projection that is being the world. You free these two. You separate them from one another. As you separate them from one another, what occurs? Non-dual presence of the direct experiencer. Words bow to the truth of your eyes, in your eyes. When I say the truth in your eyes, you know what's in your eyes? The whole world. That is why you see it. That is why you have been given access to this dimension of existence. You are a traveler. You know, the soul, the idea of the soul, if you really look at it, it comes from the word breath. And why? Because back in the day, people would see people die, and when they stopped breathing, like they didn't have that much of a scientific explanation of the breath, so they felt it was the soul of the person. But of course, in Vedic thought and yoga, the breath is acknowledged as prana and life force. So in that version of the world, there is incredible truth to the breath being the Atman. It's as if God dwells in the elements that become man's steps. It's very fascinating. Life is kind of cool. If it didn't change, you wouldn't know a lot about it. You would kind of imagine the whole life was like a fake painting. It never changed. The fact that it changes, it's as if there has been a gradual progression up the staircase of manifestation towards a sort of complexity, as if the intelligence of the biological structure is crystallizing into a new dimension with a technological intent behind it. I noticed something. It's as if technology is getting closer and closer to the biology. It's as if it's the best caretaker, but then it becomes an intrusion. What I'm trying to say is, the story of the world changes all the time. We were born 1,000 years ago, you would be given a different program, linguistic program. If you were born, in the future, you might still be given a linguistic program, or the species might have evolved beyond language, I don't know. You see, the ancient religions were onto something. They were onto an unknown intelligence, pretty much. And science looks at known intelligence. Religion looks at unknown intelligence. You go ask a religious man, why did that tornado happen? If that religious man does not know much about anything else, he will tell you it's God's will. You see, religion is, you don't know how many people in villages around the world, religion is like the meaning in their life. It will shock you. It's like you never know who is looking at an idea in this world. Sometimes I've had a thought, and then it's as if some numbers come to me intuitively, and I felt 3 other people on the planet maybe have had that same thought in that moment. You see, it's there's a playfulness. There's a freedom. For me, if they ask, like that person who doesn't have writer's block is waiting for a personality shift. Your creativity is your dance. It's like a performance. That's something that Sometimes when I get pulled by my introversion or shyness, I renounce the world. It's kind of intense. I don't know why my psychology was designed that way, but whenever something would become too turbulent and chaotic, I would renounce my desire, as if my desire was, I could see the tornado that my desire was pulling me towards, so I would not have the desire. Because I treated thoughts like objects, strangely. You see, we treat objects like thoughts. But to treat a thought like an object is a different level. That means you put it away, you pick it up, you put it away, you know. You can have it, you cannot have it, you know. So for me, it took me a while. It took me like 20 years on this planet to kind of suddenly notice, okay, there is this inner pilot behind our eyes, this sort of navigation of the intelligence that before we had language was standing right here. You know, it is said that certain shamans, rishis, yogis, Sufi dervishes, you know, just pretty much profound mystics, they renounced not only normal, regular life, they renounced the higher dimensions. And in their renunciation, it wasn't that they were trying to get rid of something. Their renunciation was hopefully natural. There's only one way you can become a seer of thought, and you have to suddenly find your relationship with the world. Everybody doesn't have just relationship with what's in the world. You have a relationship subjectively with what the whole world means. And so when you realize the paintbrush is in your hand, then you recognize how easily fear can change the data. I've had moments where literally I got scared, and in that instant, because the fear was too intense, I realigned the fears into geometry. Mathematical dimension is very easy. Like it's like, this is what I'm saying. When you look at life through design, it doesn't need to have a story. You know, it's kind of like, go next time you see a scary movie, turn off the volume and just see how the transformation of the meaning of the picture has changed. So you can change things. This is a sort of the mind. Of course, you got to think of it this way, that thoughts come and go. So honor every thought you have. That's something that people are not told. Even in the Bushido of the samurai, I believe the samurai, probably there were people who missed this point, that you are not just honoring, you're not just living in every breath. You know, in Bushido is like the kind of metaphysical substructure towards samurai honor, you know. You are living as the world, in the world. And since you are living as the world, you're no longer just with the world. You enter the home of silence. This poet Rumi, he has this like kind of profound quote. He says, "Silence is the language of God, and all else is poor translation." And when I first heard that quote, I was like, silence is a language? And I realized silence is what is moving noise. Silence is a movement. It is just the movement of higher dimensions that appears to us as nothing. It's the same with space. It's the same with stillness. The world revolves around extremes. There is an axis. The moment there's an axis, there are points of consideration. The moment there are points of consideration, there are separation. There is separation. When there's separation, there's many nations. When there's many nations, there's many kinds of people. When there's many kinds of people, we suddenly recognize we're all fragmented thoughts of one planet. As if people are the planet's thoughts. Fascinating idea, no? There is so much of humanity still hidden. So much. People's inner realities have not come into view. When we realize people, there are worlds behind their eyes, then civilization will recalibrate and realign. We will care for people because of what they carry, because of how their DNA can be a solution to a problem that the species will have 700 years from now. Every lifetime, it's like an energetic expression. Every person is like a candle, where the body of the candle is their DNA, and where the candle light is the light of their consciousness. And so the light was something where, in the Abrahamic religious context, God breathed it, like imbued, like he blew air into man, and he suddenly met this man made from clay, he suddenly had life. So imbued the inanimate with the animate. So it's as if this biological evolutionary body was like a candle that was just ready to be lit. And then I think at some point it was. And then came the subjective evolution and the emergence of the free will as an ideological construct. It's so fascinating to me. The educational system doesn't, it's as if it should be scared that children are not questioning its curriculum. That's when a civilization is in peril, when they're not even aware what the civilization is or has become. It's as if like you're living at the edge of a cliff and thinking there's nothing wrong. You know, it's like sleeping at the edge of a cliff, and just like right before your eyes close and you go to sleep, you're like, hold on, what if I roll in my sleep? I've written this science fiction novel that one day will see the light of day. And there's a chapter of it I'm going to share. Not more than a chapter. I mean, it's like a storyline of a character, and there's 9 parallel realities to Earth in the year 5025, where my novel starts. Okay, And so there's this character in a parallel reality of Earth where technology has ruled, has taken control, and pretty much human beings, like, like, oh man, this is gonna be too much to explain. There's a character named Azadima, okay, and this character is a very strange character. He kinda, in some sense, never knew his mother, and in some sense, his father. It's like you'll later on realize he's a star being who his father was human and his mother was extraterrestrial. It's one of these. I think his father was the. Anyways, he doesn't know. He thinks he's a human kid, you know. And so, but he's not a kid. He's like this grown man, and he's like, he's sleeping at this post-apocalyptic version of Earth where there's flames and ashy cities, and he's literally at the edge of a bridge. And he's sleeping at the edge of this kind of broken in half bridge, in the middle of the bridge. And so this character, what I made unique about him is like, the only thing is that there's this character, this bright kind of character made of light that comes to him in his dreams, and in his dreams explains to him everything that will happen the moment he wakes up. And so he wakes up knowing everything, strangely, you know, or knowing as much as the light being in his dreams instructs him. And so the story begins with the light being in his dreams saying, this is the last time I'm going to see you, and when you wake up, you're going to be taken by these half human, half cyborgs, you know. And so what happens is, something I gotta tell you about this character. He has this giant cylinder kind of capsule that's impenetrable, literally nothing. He's taken it even to like certain people to break it and nobody can. That has been following him since his childhood, and it has a letter R on it. And it's kind of like very next level. So what happens is this cylinder follows him, and anytime he's in danger, the cylinder just floats in the air where it's out of reach of people, and nothing can take the cylinder away. And so the cylinder is just following him like from the beginning of his life. But now what happens in this cylinder, with the cylinder, is that suddenly he wakes up and he sees the cylinder is not around, and he notices he's being taken. Literally, he's like somebody's kind of like put him on his shoulder and taking him like as a prisoner, these cyborgs, right? And he already knows what's going on, right? And he wakes up. As he's there, they suddenly take him into a prison, and the voice in the dream tells him, don't worry, nothing will happen to you, even though these people will take you, right? So what happens is these kind of messed up kind of technological, you know, half tech, half human kind of creatures, what they do is they put him in this room, and suddenly as he's sitting in the room, suddenly he notices the walls are getting thinner. The walls are pressing against one another, as if like the walls are moving closer to one another to kind of like crush him, right? And as he's there, he suddenly notices kind of like the door no longer visible, as the whole thing's kind of coming closer to crush him. And what happens is right before he gets kind of crushed, not too crushed, right? But that giant cylinder thing comes slamming in from the ceiling and comes right in the middle of the two walls, blocking the two walls, okay? And so what happens is Aslan puts his, like, he gets on top of that and gets out of the hole from the ceiling, and he frees, and his storyline continues. I don't know why I shared that, but I wanted to kind of say like the metaphysical structure to this person's life, the sense of an inner life and an outer life, the sense of how the mind, when you dream, can simulate a reality where you can consciously move it. I have consciously, like, I was running in the dream, I wanted to go left, I went left. I wanted to go right, I went right. And so I realize even though my physical body is inactive, my mind can still be active to simulate a sense of self. So the preservation of the mind can be incredibly chaotic to itself. It's as if like there's something about our minds that can also fall into this pattern of endless simulation. Because if I think too objectively, we are all the hallucination of atoms, I think. We are atoms hallucinating if I choose to only see the material. That means it's empty. What do you want? It's like you look at an empty cup and you're like, okay, this cup has no purpose. But when you fill it with water, it suddenly does. When you fill your mind with the right vision of your true nature, then nature wakes you up, not the unnatural. Your intuition remembers itself. Being raised in Iran, I like till the age of 7, and then coming to Canada, and then going back to Iran like in summers and visiting family, and experiencing that part of the world. I came across many interesting stories. Silence is where all sounds are going. Stillness is where all movement is going. To be able to find a way to be present and have no thought on phenomena is liberating, but eventually leaves you in an atmosphere where your greater free dimensions of your free will open up. When they open up, your mind begins reanimating. So your subjective realm evolves very quickly because you are not attached to beliefs. You still observe data. I mean, it's not like you don't believe anything. It's not, if you think that way, you're not at the floor. You're not at the same mountain peak. It's like we're not just storytellers, we are also story creators. And when we look at the process of creating a story, it is attributing certain subtler subjective symbology to objective phenomena. If I ask you where your thoughts are happening, what would you say? Most people would say the brain, but where is the brain? And you would say, it's in my skull, man. What are you saying? It's in my skull. This is neurons, bro. I'll be like, okay, but where is the idea of the neuron? Where is the idea of the brain? Do you see every moment you can have a new idea on the brain, so the thought is not the truth? We don't know. That's what I'm saying. We have lied to ourselves to assume positions of knowledge and power, yet none of us know. That's the magnificence of the world. It is too unknown. It's too big, you know? And if we assume we're small, guess what? You suffer. If you assume you're big, guess what? You don't suffer, but you don't also taste the gentleness and fruitfulness of life. It's all about adjusting to the personal experience to how the personal experience has emerged from the world. It's like the child's psychology first is being the world. I remember having a memory before I learned language, and even before I had an idea of my name and a person. I was like, it's one of my earliest memories. I was too young in the memory. to even learn language, as if I hadn't been taught language yet, but there was conscious retention as the moment. Because there was that, what that means is I first existed as a visual image. And then many different lines began intersecting the same point, and then the free will emerged as a subjective individual category to itself. We're not just spoon-fed food as children, we are also spoon-fed ideology. And to really have the audacity to wonder. When I say wonder, you don't have a good intent or bad intent. Just look at what's going on and wonder. And then that wonder is an authentic view of the unknown. It's like curiosity kills the cat, but wonder liberates, the karma of 9 lifetimes. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. The whole kind of atmosphere or view I have of everything I'm kind of saying here is that we have not prioritized experience. We do not care for natural lives, or our natural lives are found in inefficient societies. In some manner, you can see, of course, inefficiency in every single society. When I say civilization, that is the effort of all societies on this planet. It doesn't matter if it's like even a tribe, even it could be a tribe unexplored, kind of undiscovered tribe of people in the Amazons or whatever. There is endless worlds even underneath a grain of sand. Silence, stillness, many games are played. Sri Nisargadatta has this quote where he says, "When I see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. And when I see that I am everything, that is love. And in between, my life moves." Hafez, this poet from I believe 700 years ago, he has this poem, like this imagery in his poem, like this quote where he says, this poetic line, where he says, "One regret, dear world, I hope not to have on my deathbed is that I did not kiss you enough." It means one regret, dear universal sector, I hope not to have is that I lived rather than just existing. You cannot live for yourself because yourself is alive already. It's like, what is there to live for? This is why the collective is the inspiration of the individual. And the collective can be realigned, restructured, even respoken. Like, we can speak about it differently. Children don't have to be told inefficient stories. We gotta kind of like equip the minds of the future generations with natural clarity, with a sort of being drawn towards how nature did it first. I hope this talk has served you. Much blessings and namaste.